Alright, here we have level 5 question 6 of the worded equation series. Let's see what is important here. The sum of money is divided between Caleb, Racer and Bruno in the ratio 1 to 2 to 3. I would say that's pretty important. However, before the money is divided, Bruno dies. That's a shame. And his share is divided between Caleb and Racer in the ratio 1 to 3. After Bruno's share is divided, Racer has $2,000 more than Caleb. And this is important. How much money was there altogether? We need to remember that that's the question. So this is a ratio situation. With ratios, we need to set out what's going on. So we've got Caleb, Racer and Bruno in the ratio 1 to 2 to 3. However, Bruno dies, and so his share, this 3, is split between Caleb and Racer in the ratio 1 to 3. Now, we need to realize that this 1 is not the same as this 1. So we need to be a little bit careful here. The real question is, what is the new ratio? What's going to help us in finding that out is to realize that down here we have 4 parts, but those 4 parts are only worth 3 original parts. So back here we had 6 parts altogether, but then 3 of those parts become 4 little subparts. So we have to combine these, make these all the same value. So the question is, how much is that 1 really, and how much is that 3 really? Well, it's not that difficult to work out. 3 is worth 4 parts. Each part is worth 3/4. Because if you multiply 3/4 by 4, you'll end up with 3. Or if you add them together, 3/4, 1 1/2, 2 1/4, 3. So clearly, each new part down here, these blue ones, is worth 3/4. So what do we actually have? We now have Caleb, who is still alive and kicking, and we have Racer, who is still alive and kicking, and poor old Bruno isn't very alive nor kicking. The first part of the question, we know we've got 1 to 2, and what have we got now? Well, Caleb has 1 lot of 3/4, so we add a 3/4 to that 1, and Racer has 3 lots of 3/4, which is 9/4. 2 and 9/4, we can say that. It's actually, if we make these quarters, we've got 4/4 and 3/4 is 7/4, and over here, 8/4 and 9/4 is 17/4. This is a ratio, so it's a comparison of numbers. So 7/4 to 17/4 is the same as, it's the same ratio as 7 to 17. So that's an easier ratio to work with. So that's really what we've got. So let's write that again. So Caleb is 7, Race is 17. What's really important is to have an understanding of what that means. And what that means to me is that Racer has got more money than Caleb. If I was Racer, I'd be happy. How much more? Well, a bit more than twice. 2 7s are 14, so she's got more than double. Caleb's got less than a half, and it's in that ratio, 7 to 17. That's really important to know. We've got another piece of information here that after Bruno's share is divided, and we are now at that point after Bruno's share has been divided, Racer has $2,000 more. So we can write that as an equation. Racer has $2,000 more than Caleb. There it is. That's the easy part. The more difficult part is to make an equation out of this. Because we've got R equals, let's start with R equals down here as well. R has got something to do with K, but Racer does not equal Caleb. Racer does not have the same amount as Caleb. She has double according to these numbers. Now, this is kind of difficult to work out. I think, to my way of thinking, the easiest way to do this is to think it through. So Racer is a bit more than double Caleb. Here are the two numbers in comparison. How can we get a number that's a bit more than 2 out of 17 and 7? Well, I would say the easiest way to do it is that, because 17 over 7 is 2 and a bit, and that's exactly the amount more that Racer has than Caleb. Have a think about that. There's other ways of doing this, but I think that's a good way. So now we have two equations. We have Racer is k plus 2000 and Racer is 17 over 7k. So we have two things that are equal. Clearly R equals R, and therefore these two parts are equal as well. So here's our new equation. K plus 2000 is the same as 17 on 7k. Or you could say 17k on 7 is the same thing. Let's make this a little bit simpler because we need to find out what k is. So multiplying both sides by 7, I'm just going to save a bit of time here and say that that's 7k plus 14,000 equals, now the reason we multiply by 7 is to get rid of that 7, so clearly we're going to end up with 17k. Alright, now let's take the 7k, 14,000 equals 10k, and dividing by 10, k equals 1,400. So how are we going? We think that we know, we need to check this later, but we think we know that Caleb's got $1,400. What's the question? How much money was there altogether? Well, clearly we need to know how much Racer's got. Let's call this equation 1 and call this equation 2. So substituting into equation 1, Racer is k plus 2,000, which is 1,400 plus 2,000, which is $3,400. Question is, are we correct? Well, let's check out, because Racer should also be 17k over 7. Substituting in, and what's k? K is 1,400, so 17 times 1,400 divided by 7. Oh, 17 times 1,400, that sounds really difficult. Well, no, it's not, because if we cancel 7's into 1,400 and 7's into 7, we've got 1 here and 200. And we all know our 200 times table. So 17 times 2 is 34. It's just double 17 with the 2 zeros. 3,400. Well, isn't that coincidental? 3,400 there, 3,400 there. So clearly we are correct in our figures. Now, what is the question? The question is, how much do we have altogether? So that's Racer, and Caleb back here was 1,400, and if we add those two together, the answer is zeros down here. 4 and 4 is 8, and it's a 4, so $4,800 together. Thus endeth one way of getting the solution to this question.